All right. Well,
Oh, no way. Oh my God. No way. Oh my God.
welcome everybody to episode 131 of 1 million of the Serial Chillers podcast. That's right, we're back, baby, and we're never going away again. As always, I ask, how goes it? Hello, Greg.
I'm hanging out, man. I had to pause.
Yeah.
I had to pause for the theme song.
That's a great theme.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Good,
It hits hard.
Good for you. It's less editing that way. So this is our first episode where I am not with everybody. It feels weird just looking at you guys like this and not being able to touch you. I want to touch you.
See, that's how I used to feel.
I want to smell your musk.
That's how I used to feel, but they couldn't see me. They can see you.
That's true. That's true. Because it used to be just me who could see you.
Mhm.
We never really worked out having. Yeah. You were just a voice in their ears. I'm your host, motherfuckers.
I thought he
We'll be
froze.
back. We'll come back to these guests in a second. But first, we got to explain the show for anybody who doesn't know how it works, anybody who's new to the show, anybody who just heard of it. Maybe you just need a refresher. Each week, we sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell the story of an infamous serial killer, something true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious. If something isn't clear, you guys, contestants, be sure to chime in, because if you have questions about questions, be sure to ask questions, because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never asked questions. Now, I know Paul has one, but are there any questions?
I have one.
All right, what is it? I'm going to let you have it this time.
Does this green Sharpie work well, or is it a little dry?
That's a great question. So I've lived 2,500 miles away for 3 months. I'm gonna divert that to Greg.
It works. I tried it.
I've tried to leave the caps on everything.
Ooh.
And if you'll notice, I brought Quiet Fidgets toys. There's some rubber zombies there. If you want to fidget, there we can reenact stuff.
He knows.
I use a golf ball these days.
There's the fidget spinner of death. If you
I
listen
saw
to
it.
the tournament, that's the mangler of nuts and the banger of walls.
Yeah, that thing doesn't work. Be careful with that guy.
So, enjoy.
Well, Paul, you got your question in, and we got on a tangent, and that's okay because we're breaking the rust off. But are there any more questions?
I could think of one if you need one.
Nope, that's okay. Welcome to and let's play the Serial Chillers podcast. Nice, feels good to hear that. Good to hear
That was so nice to hear again, guys. It's been so long.
I told you, sometimes it hits just right.
Yep. All right. Well, today's episode, before I even announce this, I should say this is a Kelly G episode. And that's just how I want to show my appreciation. One, I have so many half to three-quarter done outlines that I couldn't decide between weeks and weeks ago. And I was like, oh yeah, I think Kelly G sent me something. So I pulled that up and it was so good and so put together. I was like, we're starting the season with that. So we're going to see some of my, my build outlines. And of course, as usual, I'll add some stuff into Kelly G's. But this is a Kelly G original, all-star research assistant. And we just want to say thank you for all the work you do, Kelly G. You're getting a season premiere.
As for anything I do throughout the season, it'll mostly be copy and paste from Bibliotheca Pleiades or the Wikipedia. So,
But that's
don't
why
expect
we say,
quality from me.
That's why we say, if you're using this show for research, don't. Okay, so Kelly G, thank you. Thank you again, Paul and Bigfoot, for being here. Hello,
You're
Greg.
welcome.
It's good to get going again. Today's story is the murder of Hae Min Lee.
Oh,
You guys familiar with that?
yeah.
The way Casey said, oh, and then immediately started nodding leads me to believe that he is.
I'm not.
Yeah. It is a widely popular case.
Not that popular, eh, Paul?
Nah.
Yeah.
Not in my
but
circle.
as you know, that will lead us to our first question.
7.
In what year was Hae Min Lee murdered?
What are you writing?
I don't know the year.
Ooh, murdered, not born.
Right. So, we have definitely done serial killers, a lot of them. With Greg getting his own episodes. You're going to have to, I was going to say you're going to have to show them to Greg, but
We got Paul in 1978, Bigfoot with 2008.
okay. That's going to be 250 points to Bigfoot because Hae Min Lee was murdered in 1999.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Yes. And before we get too far in, I'm going to go automatically to a question number 2 here. This became widely popular because of a podcast. Question number 2. This is for 500 points if you can get it, because there is not multiple choice. What was the name of the podcast that brought a lot of fame to this case?
Is this not multiple choice?
It's not. That's why you get 500 if you get it correct.
Right.
I would say widely popular. Paul,
Yeah, I don't remember the one you talk about all the time.
There's almost no way that
It's
you
called
haven't
Serial
heard of
Chillers
it.
Podcast.
No. I'm going to write LFG. Is that a thing?
It might be, but I don't think it's right.
I'm sure Let's Fucking Go, the podcast, is a podcast, but that's not the one. Give Bigfoot 500 points because it was indeed the podcast Serial that popularized this case. This was honestly one of those podcasts that at the time...
Was that first guy?
Yeah.
Adnan Syed.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's why I didn't mention his name, because his name is a little more popularly attached. Yeah, everybody in America did, buddy.
Yeah.
Everybody in America did. Serial was a lot of podcasters, including myself, will give it credit for being one of the ones that really got them into podcasting or brought them to podcasting. Kevin Smith and Smodcast is like what brought me to podcasts, but it didn't necessarily like inspire me to podcast. You know what I mean? This was like, and I'm not like, we even say if you're using this show for research, don't. This is like investigative journalism. An NPR host who put it together. But, Serial was a huge show, a huge hit. We'll talk about it a little more as we kind of get to it. But, yes, great job. I think we got 750 already. Greg, you keeping score, right?
Yeah, it's going great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should I leave now?
I think you beat me last time, so.
Hey, Paul.
I haven't won in years.
As we always say,
Get better.
plenty of time.
Get
Plenty
good,
of
kid.
time.
Get good, kid.
Really quickly, let's mention the references and citations for the show.
Ugh.
Serial Season 1. The Case Against Adnan Syed, which is an HBO documentary. And this was from Amy Berg. And we know Amy Berg because she made the West Memphis 3 documentary we used as reference in that episode.
Which was a good
West of
documentary.
Memphis was a very good documentary. And Adnan Syed, Overturned by HBO, which is another doc. Also, Instagram and TikTok, we're being more active on those because we're fucking back, baby. Check them out. The YouTube page is still going to exist. I know not a ton of you really wanted video, and that's okay. We're back on audio only, but the YouTube, if you're somebody who just likes to listen to podcasts through YouTube, that's still there. It's going to be a still image, and it's just going to be the audio as usual. So if you're someone who doesn't want to download an app to listen to it, you're not a Spotify person, that's fine. Just go to YouTube. You'll find us there. Threadless store is always there. Threadless.com/Serial Chillers Podcast, or the other way around. I can't even remember, honestly. Patreon is big for us too. We're working from across the country, which brings a little bit of technical need to the show. We still have an office on the West Coast, and any help you guys can provide is awesome. We don't expect it, but we do appreciate it. So that's on the Patreon, patreon.com/Serial Chillers Podcast. Also, if you just go to serialchillerspod.com, there is a button that says support the show or something along those lines. You click on that. That'll take you to a link where you can give a one-time donation. So if you're not into giving $5 a month or whatever it is, we totally understand that. You can go there and donate one time.
Just give $100 and fucking be good for 20 months.
I mean, look, we use these funds to pay rent on the office. Like, that's number one for us because we can't get kicked out of there. But also, we use it to buy books, and we use it to buy books to research the episodes. So the I feel like one of the reasons that people still like the show is they can tell we're not copy and pasting Wikipedia articles every episode. Yeah, for sure, we get tons of information from there. But I think that's what sort of sets us apart, is that while we have fun and we fuck around a lot, we still take our research seriously.
And don't
I
trust
still say if you're using the
ChatGPT.
show for research. Yeah, exactly. Not even to organize. I wasn't like, write me an outline about this story. I was like, here's 1,000 words of information I would love for you to organize for me. And it said, no, fuck you. But that's the long story short. Join the Discord if you want to hang out with us. We've been getting some new people showing up recently, and it's really awesome. It's super easy to find. Everything that I just mentioned you can find on serialkillerspod.com, including our P.O. Box 1229 Clovis, California 93613. Now you can just send everything cool because Greg gets it. So he's got to send it to me after it gets there. So you don't have to attention Greg. He's going to open it first. And if it's cool drugs, he'll find a way to get it to me somehow.
If it's a bomb, sucks for Greg.
Well, we've always said that. Make sure those are
We've seen
attention
my
Greg.
logo.
So this will be one of the more pop culturally charged recent crimes.
Wait,
that
I
we've done on the
forgot.
show.
Can I give a shout out to lonelyfans with 2z's.com if you want to
Of
see?
course.
If you want to see, if you want to be force fed naked pictures of me.
I've been there.
That's lonelyfanswith2z's.com.
I've noticed you haven't paid to unsubscribe, so
No. I thoroughly enjoy the content.
It's called love, baby. It's called love. So, again, I say this will be one of the more pop culturally charged recent crimes that we've done on the show. I kind of said before, but we started in the realm primarily of serial killers or spree killers in some cases. We moved into things a little more true crime, dark, creepy, and otherwise mysterious. It's going to bring us to stories like this. I know the show's name implies that we'll be all serial killers, but luckily, we're sort of running thin on really, really prolific serial killers to cover. That's not a bad thing. I think we've got a lot of cool stuff coming down the line. And some of those serial killers from the first 15 episodes we've waited on. I could just say that I don't even know if it'll be this season, but technically Jeffrey Dahmer is an open episode to us because it was in the early times. And last season was a little too soon to the
before
Evan
times.
Peters, the before form, the Evan Peters show they did. So I didn't really want to do anything around that. But maybe this season. Well, I guess we're not even doing seasons, so maybe sometime soon, maybe not exactly soon, but there are still some big names that are yet to be done. But we're going to sprinkle in some really cool stories like this as we move along the way.
That is very committal, non-committal.
That's
Maybe soon or not soon, maybe not ever.
What was that?
but probably.
Yeah, well, the thing
Maybe.
is that I'll only commit to something that I've got written down and I've started. That's why I'm saying, like, maybe I could get started on it soon. I can't promise. Some outlines take me 6 months to complete the way I want to complete them.
That's a long time.
So, I know it is, man.
I'm ready
not
to
even
come
a
out swinging with
perfectionist
JFK,
either.
dude.
Dude, I'm fucking ready. We can make that a two-parter. And that's another thing about how we are moving along the line here is that you guys are going to get a little bit more. I know we did Greg, I think, like every 4 or 5 episodes in the last season. You guys are going to get Greg at least that often, maybe a little more. So some of these
All up
episodes
in
will
you.
just be. Some of these episodes are just going to be me sitting here on a computer screen going,
Whoa.
yeah, I can't read those cards, so Greg, you're gonna have to do that too.
I was gonna say that was me every episode
Yeah,
for
true.
years. So
But you were here hanging out doing cool shit, and I'll do some side stories. It'll be fun. So, this is the story of the murder of Hae Min Lee, which took place in 1999, which led to the wrongful conviction of Adnan Syed in the year 2000. There are 2 people responsible for the case's fame. Rabia Chaudhry is number 1. She is Adnan's best friend's older sister. She was in law school when he was on trial and is now a fairly prolific lawyer who obviously got this case in the hands of Sarah Koenig, who was basically made this case what it was. She worked for NPR and This American Life. Heard about this case. She was actually a journalist in Baltimore where this took place as well. So in 2014, she worked for NPR and This American Life, and Rabia brought her the case, and Sarah became very interested in it. So interested that she made a podcast called Serial. Basically, this is a NPR-backed podcast. She pitched it to them, and they were like, let's fucking go. And so she did that, and the whole first season focuses on the case of Adnan Syed and the murder of Hae Min Lee. The second season is Bo Bergdahl. I found it not nearly as as exciting. Maybe you will. It's still a great show. For sure, listen to the first season of Serial if you never have, though. The whole first season focuses on the case, and it was downloaded over 100 million times.
Dang.
Could you imagine 100 million people knowing about you?
No, I'm good.
Doesn't that sound terrifying?
Yeah, it kind of does.
That's a lot of downloads. Like, for reference, we, after all this time in episodes, we're just shy of 1 million total.
Even with the
Which is cool.
Even with
Yeah, that is
the legacy ones that they removed.
Yeah, we're still just shy of 1 million.
Oh, I've been lying to people then.
Well, yeah.
Fuck it. I mean, we got like 12 million, I think.
There it is.
You didn't. It was ChatGPT. It wasn't you.
We do Joe Rogan numbers.
Pay me.
Jesus, I wouldn't be in a closet.
I would be.
We would just do it in like Colorado and fly there every weekend if we were making Joe Rogan money. Just get that sweet Colorado weed, hang out, and fly back, baby.
That's what's up.
Joe Rogan, say our name in your show. So,
Joe, did you see this clip? No, fuck that guy.
Jamie, pull it up.
No, I don't want to pull it up, Joe.
When Sarah was the case blew up, obviously, but the show blew up really hard. She was on with Stephen Colbert, who called her the first superstar podcaster, which is probably pretty accurate. Like, there were obviously earlier podcasts, including Joe Rogan. Adam Carolla had been podcasting for a very long time before that. Kevin Smith, even, there were a lot of people who were before her, but not anybody who got 100 million people to listen to it.
At once,
say
no.
something, Greg?
I was going to say Art Bell's been podcasting since like 2003.
Amen.
No, seriously, like I listened to his Art Bell Somewhere in Time show, and they're like, this one's from October 3rd, 2001. And he's like, yeah, and you can go find us online at www. period.
That's how the internet works.
Yeah. And then he reads the whole thing, and he's like, and you can go on there and download podcasts from us, which is basically just the show tomorrow. And I'm like,
HTTPS : //
well, I don't know if it's forward or back.
Our Bell's the goat, though. That's why.
So Sarah Koenig and the show Serial honestly is a big reason why a lot of people even know what a podcast is. She won a Peabody in 2014 for Serial, and during her speech, she called it out for what it is. Quote, "It's a 10-hour audio documentary about an old murder that I did not solve." So she's, she's saying like, yeah, I brought you guys the case, but remember, like, we did nothing but bring you guys a story, okay? So it's like really like downplaying her own involvement in the case, which like honestly, I think a lot of people could take notes from. Just, it's nice that she brought some shine a light on it, but she knows that the story's not about her. And I think that's like a good journalist's kind of move anyway.
It is important to remember that, because too many people are like, hey, did you see what I did with this story?
Right. So she just points out the facts that led to a lot of people to think the jurors probably should have had a harder time finding Adnan guilty, and just the fact that there was so much reasonable doubt in this case, and it was still such an open and shut one. Here's a case summary. Here's a short summary of the case and why it's important. There's a lot of hearsay and finger pointing for this murder, so let's talk about what we know happened for sure. On January 3rd, 1999, Hae Min Lee went to school, which let out about 2:15 p.m., and she then went missing. She would be missing for a certain amount of time before, unfortunately, her body was found. Question number 3. Paul is a fucking veteran. I said she'll be missing for a certain amount of time, and he reached down and he grabbed a card. He knew a question was coming. Okay, so this is one with numbers that will have multiple choice. How long did it take before Hae Min Lee's body was found? Was it A, 4 days, B, 9 days, C, 24 days, or D, 27 days?
I was going to guess 3.
4, 9, 24, or 27 days.
Okay, Paul says D, Bigfoot says A.
Give Paul 250 points because Hae
Suck
Min
it.
Lee's body
Present
was
it.
found February 9th, 1999. That was a weird time to celebrate, I suppose. So January 13th,
Did you
she
see
goes
their
missing.
celebration?
No, I missed it. I don't know if I want to see it. Oh, I could feel that in my hand for some
Gingerly.
reason. On February 9th, 1999, her body was found. Really, other than that, there are not a ton of more definitive facts about the case. The only reason we know anything else about this timeline is because of what we have heard from witnesses. And Kelly G likes to point out that these are heavy quote marks on witnesses. There is a lot of things said that sound very true until you hear someone else say, hey, I was there actually at that same time, and it was actually not this, it was that. And then it is a kind of a scary way to see things. And I think season 3 of Serial was about like the Baltimore criminal justice system and how kind of fucked up it was, especially at this time in the late 1990s. But it's kind of scary to think that like you could have just known somebody and they got murdered and you just get railroaded for it. And I'm not saying that's what happened here. I don't know that Adnan Syed didn't murder her. I think that there is a way it's supposed to work in this country, though, and that is being proven 100% guilty with no reasonable doubt. And I don't think that's what happened here. And we'll
Unless
see
you
later.
have money.
Right, if you have money, you're cool, dude. Do whatever the fuck you want, bro.
Well,
Dang, I need money.
Isn't that the saying?
money.
If the punishment for a crime is just a fine, then it's
Then
not
it's
a crime.
for poor people.
Yeah.
That it's not a crime. It's you just have to be able to pay for it.
So it's a way to keep poor people in check, bro.
Yeah.
So, heavy quote marks on witnesses. Other stuff was pieced together after pulling phone records and trying to get the narrative to fit. And unfortunately, this is why people start genuinely forgetting, selectively remembering, and straight up fucking lying. Also, remember, 1999, we're talking about cell phone records and pinging towers and stuff. We're real early into this technology. So people, including the police, are not 100% sure how it works. If I'm not even mistaken, this is the first case to ever use like cell phone tower evidence
Like
for a capital crime.
the triangulation and shit.
Yeah, like which tower did it ping off of at what time?
Well,
and
that's because
exactly.
it'll ping. They'll see how close it was to all the towers, and then it's like a Venn diagram, and that middle spot's where they are.
Yeah, I think it was less that
Oh.
and more just showing which close one that it's into, because that would show that it was more like here's the one and here's the circle around it, so they would have been in this area.
Oh.
So even earlier, I think, than like triangulation of using multiple towers, because this is at a time when there weren't towers on every block or whatever.
I was gonna say there's only 7 towers nationwide. So
It was
they
one
all look
half
like
of a
Venn
Venn
like-
diagram.
I haven't seen it here as much, but I know like in Clovis, there's a bunch that just look like fake trees.
Oh,
There's
it's
just cell phone
phenomenal.
towers like in the middle of neighborhoods that just look like giant fake
I
trees.
thought that was charging stations for the birds.
The drones?
Yeah.
No, they're solar.
Oh, all right.
And that's Greg's next episode after JFK. Birds aren't real. So if you want more info on any of this, honestly, listen to Serial. All of the info is there. It is 100%.
stop,
fully
stop
thought
listening.
out.
Stop
I like-
listening now.
I
Just
listen-
go over to Serial.
I listened to that, and I don't remember where they said birds aren't real.
Yeah, exactly. So like I said, if you want all the real information, go listen to Serial. The other documentaries are good too, but I feel like Serial, like, a documentary is not 10 hours long, and Serial is. The only thing it serves to do is show that some of these people did have relationships, and it had ups and downs like all relationships, especially high school relationships. I'm sure you guys remember high school boyfriends and girlfriends or closer people. Like high school is like a very volatile time. We're all full of weird hormones that we're not sure how to handle. Boyfriends and girlfriends from that time, are things go fast. High school is a weird time, and that's basically what Hae and Adnan were boyfriend and girlfriend that sort of, they had ups and downs, they had fights, they had disagreements, breakups, makeups, all that stuff. So we do have a lot of what happened in Hae's own words, because she left a journal behind. She documented like almost her daily life in a diary. And it was found in her room after they realized that after she had been missing for so long, they started going through her stuff and found this. Essentially, from April 1st, 1998 to January 12th, 1999, she wrote a ton about Adnan. How he was an appealing guy, he was an EMT on the honor roll, a football player, and he led in prayers. She starts by talking about a prom that she and Adnan attended at the beginning of their relationship. He asked if she wanted to go, and she did. At this dance, Adnan wins prom prince, and prom princess is given to a girl named Stephanie. We'll remember Stephanie for later because she'll come into this. But instead of Adnan dancing with prom princess Stephanie, he danced with Hae. Gushes in her...
Are they underclassmen at this point?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, so that's why they're not prom king and queen.
They're prince and princess.
I
fact,
wasn't gonna ask. I never have questions.
Fun fact. Paul was our prom king.
Fun fact.
Whoa.
Still have it.
Hey.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
It's tore up.
So he danced with Hae, his date, instead of the prom princess. From what I understand, the prom princess just danced with her date. There was no hard feelings in this. Sure. But to Hae, it was like a super fucking big deal that he danced with her. And she gushes about it and how sweet and amazing he was in her diary. And the song that they danced to was her favorite song at the time. Question number 4. What song was it? Was it A, Heartbreaker by Mariah Carey, B, I Try by Macy Gray, C, All My Life by Casey and JoJo, or D, Have You Ever by Brandy?
I don't know, dude. All My Life feels like...
Yeah, I'm saying C just because it's a great song.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah, we got two C's over here.
Can we play that right now? Let's listen.
Can we get a clip?
All my life, I pray for someone like you.
Hey, who sings that?
Did you just ugh me? You're fucking welcome. Jesus, you motherfucker.
Oh,
you can't legally play it, and you know it. And you just ughed me.
Yep. I'll do it again.
Give them both 250 points. I like that you guys just lit up at the song "All My Life" by Casey and JoJo. We learned some things about you guys tonight.
It's because we're all of the age where that song was about right. Like, I mean, I know all those songs fit the time period.
Every one of those songs came out in 1999.
Right, but like
I didn't know what you were talking about.
Which song was played at all the dances?
Yeah, it was gonna say we're talking about like dancing at a prom with the prom king. Like nobody in their right mind has ever said, "Hey, you know what my favorite song is? I Try from Macy Gray."
Truth.
Even Macy Gray said, "Yeah, it's all right."
Fair. That's fair. All right. So after prom, they start dating officially. They're not just prom dates anymore. They're boyfriend and girlfriend. We know how it goes. Someone asked the other one if they wanted to go steady. Yeah, yada, yada, yada.
Wear your class ring.
Yeah, it's cute. They both had immigrant parents who were not okay with them dating. But they had a pretty fucking slick way of getting around. Because look, we're talking about early cell phones and some people not having cell phones. That includes Adnan and Hae, who did not have cell phones most of the time during their early dating. So what they would do is they would pick a time. Okay,
Cups on a string.
You're gonna call me tonight at 11:55. So at 11:54, Adnan would call Popcorn or call 1-800-WEATHER or Movie Phone or just call a free 1-800 number. And Hae would call him, and it would only go to the call waiting instead of having it ring through the whole house. And I was like, damn, that's pretty fucking good, man. I usually just stood by it like, come on. Hello.
Hello. Nobody ever called me, so I didn't have to worry about it.
Fair. That's a good method too. But I thought that was a pretty cool idea of getting around it. It's one that like our kids or even like some of the people listening to this will never even have like known that there was an issue, but at the same time like we look back on it and go like, fuck, I wish I had thought of that. Son of a bitch. So two parents trying to keep them apart. I think Adnan's parents were a little more against it, but Hae's parents were not cool with it at all. Mostly regular high school stuff that they go through. There's some stuff about Hae feels like she's making Adnan choose between her and his religion. As a Muslim, he shouldn't have been dating or hooking up with Hae, but he really liked Hae, so he did it anyway. When asked why Hae would feel like that, Adnan said that she must have misunderstood some of his jokes. He says that he wasn't religious but was culturally Muslim. So like, you know, his family was involved in the church, and they didn't force him to be involved with it so much. Like he did kind of the major celebrations that they do and things like that, but he wasn't, you know, at the church doing the prayers with his dad and all that stuff. So Adnan said he wasn't too worried about religion when he was smoking, drinking, and having sex starting earlier than he and Hae's relationship. So basically he's saying like, dude, I've been getting high, getting drunk, and like fooling around with chicks like before I met Hae. Like, you know, if religion were a thing, I was worried. If we're, hey, dude, you don't know how it goes down in B-more. Some people think that because of some of the stereotypes about Muslim views on women, that Adnan just thought he could kill her without consequences because she broke his heart. So, like, you know, there's a lot of different things that people took from this based strictly off the fact that Hae was Asian American, Adnan was Muslim. Basically, what I'm saying is, you know, immigrant parents on both sides. Hae thought that his religion was more important to him than he thought it was to him. And so for a lot of their relationship, she thought that she was basically making him choose her over his religion, which he's saying like, nah, that's not how I kind of didn't want to fucking do it anyway. So it is true that Hae was seeing someone else after they broke up, but Adnan did not feel like the guy stole her. He wasn't devastated, and he was like he's already like kind of moving on with chicks of his own. Adnan to me seemed like kind of a little bit of a player, so to speak.
Prom prince.
Until he met Hae, right? Until he met Hae, it does seem like he really liked her, stopped all that other shit. But then they broke up, and he was like, all right, well, back to that then. She gets a new dude, and I think a lot of people were like, well, that's why he killed her then. And he's like, well, not really. Like, I was doing the same thing. So, and it does seem that they stayed pretty good friends after they broke up, which was, I believe, in like late December or early January of that year. So the murder would have just been like a month after their breakup. Adnan got a new cell phone on January 12th, and he called Hae around midnight to give her his new number. I remember when I got my first cell phone, getting to call everybody and be like, yo, this is my number now, dude. You can hit me up.
Save it.
And it was hella late, too. It was hella late. So
I got mine on
everybody
my 16th
already had
birthday.
them. I think that's when around when I got mine. Harold got it for me.
Oh,
my parents
good old Harold.
Good old Harold. So she wrote down his number at the top of her diary. You can look at that page on January 12th. This diary is going to be helpful in dating a lot of things that took place. Okay, so they were together, then they broke up. He could have motive, supposedly, as being the ex, however shitty it may be. So let's talk about that day, January 13th, 1999. This is a good time to introduce Jay Wilds. Jay Wilds says he remembers that day and told police that Adnan killed Hae, and Adnan showed him the body. So you got someone coming out right away when this is happening going like, dude, he killed her and he showed me the body. Like, I saw it with my own two eyes.
And what did he do?
All right. Jay says he remembers the day he told police that Adnan killed Hae and showed the body. Because of his story, cops pull phone records. And then Jay alters his story again. If you're looking for details, listen to Serial Killers or the case against Adnan to match the phone records. But the cops are still like, right. Yeah, no. That makes sense. Good. Jay says Adnan came home from school to get him, and then they went to Jay's girlfriend to get a birthday present because Jay didn't have a car. Jay took Adnan back to school, and Adnan left his car and cell phone with Jay. So Jay has got Adnan's cell phone and car. He's been dropped off at school. Jay then went to a girl named Jen's house. Jay said they had pre-planned it with Adnan, and he was supposed to go get Adnan after he killed Hae. So he's saying like, yeah, I was basically the getaway driver. So Jay received a call from Adnan where Adnan said something like, the bitch is dead, come get me, and then told him what store that he could be found at. Question number 5.
What store was it?
Store did Jay tell Adnan that he had the body?
Then what's the answer?
Oh, I don't know the
A,
answers.
Best Buy, B, Target, C, Macy's, or D, Kmart? What a dick. And I'm talking about Paul, not Jay Wilds.
I mean, Porque no los dos.
I'm not saying Jay Wilde isn't a dick. Just in this specific case, I was only talking to Paul.
You got your answers? Casey says A. Paul says D.
Give Casey 250 more points because yes, Jay received a call from Adnan where Adnan said something like, "The bitch is dead. Come get me. I'm at Best Buy."
What year are we in now?
2000.
It's 1999.
Oh, I thought this was
Best
January
Buy was
12th,
around then?
2000.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Fucking, I don't
this is
know.
1999.
What, I was going to fucking Toys R Us to buy shit at that point. Fucking, I'm not doing a
You
Best
fucking
Buy.
nerd. Fucking nerd. Well, then it for sure didn't exist since you didn't go to it.
We were going
Yeah.
to Sam Goody, bro.
Dude.
I couldn't walk there. Toys R Us was literally across the dirt field from us.
No.
There is mention of Sam Goody somewhere later in this episode.
Yes.
It's not even a joke. Okay, so Jay shows up. Adnan shows Jay Hae's body. Jay said her lips were blue and she was curled up in the trunk of her own car. The idea is, according to Jay, that Adnan left his cell phone and car with Jay so that his car could be seen at that apartment and that his cell phone wouldn't be anywhere near Hae, right?
Brilliant.
Because, like, although it's early, you know, he understands that having it with him is probably not the best idea. So he gets a ride with Hae with the intent on killing her, taking her in her own car. And that's what Jay is saying took place here. So Jay says that they take her car to the I-70 park and ride and then cruise around in Adnan's car. Then he took Adnan back to school to track practice so that he could be seen there for an alibi. Jay picked up Adnan after a track practice and they hung out more and ditched Hae's car. He doesn't say at this point, but later Jay claims this is when they take 25 minutes to bury Hae in Leakin Park about 6 inches deep, according to Jay. So that's his story. They believe him because Adnan could have wanted to kill her. Right? So, like...
Yeah, no, totally sounds accurate.
He had motive, but, like, God, how much time... And we'll talk about this, too, but, like, to get out of school, get a ride, murder, call someone up, have them drive to you, check out the body, get back in that car, and get dropped off with enough time to, like, make an alibi by being at track practice?
It seems like a lot of work. I'm tired just thinking.
Right,
about
like,
it.
I'm
And
pretty sure,
since
you know-
when are high school kids that fucking motivated?
Right, I was going to say, when I was in high school, school got out at 2:40 and track practice started, like, at 3 o'clock.
Right.
That was pretty close, Greg. So it's a lot. So Jay's story is basically just being believed by police due to the fact that Adnan could have motive to kill Hae. So when they ask Adnan where he was on January 13th, they're basically like, they've gotten to him. She's gone missing. They have found her body. It's now a murder case. It's not a missing persons case. The first time they talk to Adnan is 6 weeks later and ask him, well, what were you doing on January 13th? So, again, they give him 6 weeks. They want to know exactly what he was doing on January 13th. And here's the thing, that if his story didn't match with Jay's, it's not looking good because Jay's already like the established story, right? It's the one police believe. It's the one they're kind of basing things around. And that's what they're looking for, is for that Adnan story to match Jay's story, or else he's highly suspicious. And they also already have the cell record showing that, like, Jay was called at this time and blah, 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 blah. So what does Adnan say happened? He says he left school that day to get Jay and took Jay to the mall to get a present for Jay's girlfriend. So far we've got the same story, right? We talked about that. Why does Adnan care about Jay's girlfriend's birthday? It's because they're friends. It's Stephanie from earlier, the prom princess.
Hi, Stephanie.
So, hey, Steph. So also, she and Hae, Stephanie and Hae, are in the magnet program at their school, which is like the advanced students go do this magnet program. So when he went back to school, that's like kind of what he remembers 6 weeks after it happened, which is pretty good. Like, to being able to, like, narrow down that specific day. He says things like, I would have maybe checked my email in the library, and I would have had track practice, and it was Ramadan, so I would have been fasting and hungry, and would have been time for me to eat, so we would have eaten and smoked weed. I would have had to do it and be home around 7. So a lot of it isn't definitive statements. It's like, okay, so on an average day, I would have probably been doing this, right? So I think that was another thing for police is the fact that he couldn't definitively say what he was doing and say only what he believes he may have been doing or that he would have been doing.
But he voluntarily told them, like, I was probably smoking weed. Like,
well, that's another thing too. Is like
sometimes you got to take the small L to get away with the big W.
Oh, and that's another thing too. If you follow channels like Explore with Us and some other like YouTube channels that'll like break down kind of criminal psychology of things, they'll like break down interviews that criminals are giving. That's like a common tactic of a criminal is to like be like, okay, yeah, I was doing that, but I didn't fucking kill anybody. You know, hell yeah, I was on a 6-day meth bender, but I didn't stab that guy with a screwdriver 9 times. He said that his dad would have spent the night at the mosque because this is towards the end of Ramadan, so he would have also had to bring him food. He doesn't remember at first, but a cop did call him that day looking for Hae. So I misspoke when I said it's the first time they called him. They called him on the day that Hae went missing and said, "Hey, do you remember seeing her?" And he told them everything that like basically he's telling them now. Like, yeah, I saw her earlier today, blah, blah, blah. So after being prompted, he does happen to remember the call. So they're like, "Hey, don't you remember we called you?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." Question number 6, what reason does Adnan give for not initially remembering the cop's call? Is it A, it was 6 weeks ago? B, I was going through a lot at the time? C, I just didn't remember? Or D, I was super high?
See, that goes in. This is why he's a good host, because that goes along with the weed thing.
Oh, it was 6 weeks ago. I was just going
screen?
through. These are quotes, by the way. So this would be a quote by Adnan. It was 6 weeks ago. I was going through a lot at the time. I just don't remember, or I was super high.
All right, so Paul says B. Bigfoot says
I was going through a lot at the time.
I think he was super high.
Yeah,
no,
Bigfoot
see, that's a
says
smoke
D.
screen. He wants you to choose that.
But that's all right.
Or it's
I
right,
get
and I'm
it,
wrong.
smoke screen.
Okay, so give Bigfoot 250 points because Adnan said to the police,
I was wrong.
I remember the call, but I remember being super high when you called me.
How many questions are there in this episode?
723.
Only 10, but we're kind of front-loaded there. It kind of slows down.
I'm going to give you a heads up, Paul. There is no longer plenty of time.
Is there a little time?
There's a little time.
There's a little time.
You're going to need to shift it into
the score?
Gear. It is 1,500 to 500.
Okay.
4 questions left. You're going to have
But you know what? There is one in here where
it's a stabby.
There are 2 that are stabbies, and if you were able to stab and get both of those, it's 1,500.
Oh,
so there is
golden.
Time. You're gonna,
golden, guys.
You're gonna,
7.
It doesn't go for the layup. He's only shooting from half
Yeah,
court.
7. Just put me down for 7 on both.
All right, perfect.
Is that an option?
So he remembers being super high when the cop called him. Obviously, that's problematic to the police for one reason. You know, like it's 1999. It's far less accepted in non-legal states than it is now, obviously. But you know, basically that's not what they're investigating. Kids getting high, they're investigating a murder, so it's not the biggest thing on their plate. If nothing else, this case should demonstrate that you might want to start keeping notes of what you did on a day-to-day basis, just in case, dude.
Nope.
Technology nowadays makes
big
it to where
brother.
you're probably technology now. Honestly, you probably don't have to. There's settings in your phones where you can just go see like the places you go to most. How many times have you gotten in your car and Maps goes like, "Hey, dude, you know you're only 26 minutes away from home right now." Like it's
my phone used to do that like at 4:45 every day. It'd be like, "Hey, traffic's looking all right on your drive home."
right. And like so now, like full disclosure, I'm an Amazon delivery guy, and that's like one of the things in training. They're like, "Don't fuck around. You're on camera. Like think about all those Ring cameras out there. And if you're not on the house you're delivering to's camera, you're probably on their neighbor's camera. So it's not worth it. Basically.
Don't kick the package."
It's totally true. Don't Ace Ventura that shit. Got a package, people.
It'd be funny to see you on TikTok though.
Yeah, well, like I told Curtis, if I decide I'm leaving at some point, I'll go out with a blaze of glory. I'll try to get famous.
Just crap on another man's desk.
But every time one of the cameras says like, you know that those I don't know what brand it is, but it like whistles and then goes, "You are now being video recorded." I'm always like, hey, like wave to it. Like, hopefully I'll get on the other side. Like, look at this nice Amazon delivery guy.
My daughter was home alone screaming, no, make him leave.
Hi.
You gotta do a little dance or shuffle to get on TikTok, I think.
Damn it. All right.
Ooh, yeah, dude, start freestyling at everybody's fucking Ring camera.
Nah, dude, I'm just going to hit the icky shuffle with the package.
Ooh.
And then just be like, serial killers, and run away.
Yeah. How long can I go promoting myself on doorbell cams before Amazon has an issue with it?
Start leaving stickers with packages.
Oh my gosh! All right, now you're actually making some pretty good ideas here.
Yeah, I'm brilliant.
So, basically nowadays it's a little bit easier to probably track down what you're doing. Because you know what? A lot of times now I'll go like, when was that? And I'll just start looking through Instagram. And posts around that time, I'll be like, oh, okay, so that was like at the end of 2016 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are ways to do it. In 1999, not really the case. That was the what the fuck is the internet days.
It was when the internet came in the mail.
Yeah, you had to get a CD for it. But if something bad happens to someone and you're not on a camera, you better be able to prove where you were and what you were doing. So that's what some of the things in Sarah's words, quote, look bad for Adnan. Let's explain some of those. What are maybe or whether or not they still look bad in 2023 eyes. 1. Adnan's palm print was on Hae's car on an atlas. His palm print was on the back cover, and a page had been ripped out of the atlas. The prosecution says it is the map Adnan needed to get to Leakin Park. He lives in Baltimore. I'm assuming he knew how to get to a park in Baltimore and didn't need an atlas, but that's just me. It turns out almost every other place Adnan and Hae would go was also on that ripped out page. Okay, so everywhere they go that he's probably familiar with is on the page that he ripped out that he needed to get to a park. I'm not trying to defend Adnan, but I'm just saying already this is like, well, that's not a very good. His palm print was on his girlfriend's car he broke up with 2 weeks ago? No way.
Definitely not.
Also, there were 13 other sets of prints in or on this book, and none of those happen to be questioned as suspects.
That
2,
seems irresponsible.
Again, we like to praise good police work, but we'll also shit on bad police work. And to me, it seems like there was just a narrative that got set at the beginning. And, they say, like, you got to solve a crime by, like, piece by piece. You figure out what happened, and you get it to fit what the truth is. And it seems to me that this was really trying to get it to fit what the narrative was. So they had a story at the beginning, and they're like, fuck, that's what we need everything to point to. And it really feels like that's the way it went. So, number 2, Adnan allegedly asked Hae for a ride on the day she went missing. The cop Adnan talks to said that, and Adnan admitted it the day that she went missing that they had talked. Some friends remember him asking her for the ride at school, but it's mixed on if they think it was for that day. People remember her saying both yes and no, and Jay said it was the plan. To be fair, Jay had Adnan's car that day. So again, it's one of those things where some people are like, yeah, I remember that. Some people are like, yeah, but it wasn't for that day. And some people are like, oh, she said yes. But some other people were like, oh, she said no. So again, there's a lot of up and down and a lot of right and wrong. And I don't know that the truth is always coming to the top. Number 3, Adnan says he doesn't remember much of what happened on January 13th because it was just a normal day to him. But Sarah points out that a cop did call him on that day. Wouldn't that be out of the ordinary? Adnan says no, he just thought Hae would be in a ton of trouble. Number 4, he did not call or message Hae once after she went missing. And remember, he called her like 2 nights before to give her his new cell phone number. Seems like he may have been at least in contact with her, or maybe that was his like last ditch with his ex, just to say like, hey, here's my number, hit me up if you ever need anything. So number 5, some guy calls the cops and tells them that a neighbor told the guy's daughter that he saw, quote, an oriental body that he said someone named Adnan showed to him. Okay, moving along here. Number 6 on the list. While Jay remembers them hanging out before burying Hae, Jay says that they visited one of his friends, Christy. So they had a busy night with a body in the trunk.
Body just chilling.
Yep, literally. In Serial, Sarah refers to her as Kathy because at that point she didn't feel comfortable being identified, but later she's Christy, and you'll hear her tell her story. Anyway, she remembers January 13th, and Jay and Adnan came over. She said she didn't know Adnan, but that night that he acted really weird. She says she distinctly remembers him being weird and getting a phone call where he said stuff like, well, what am I going to do? they're going to come talk to me about it. And when then asking the room, how do you get rid of a high? In the HBO documentary, someone finds a copy of her school schedule and shows her that she would have been in class that night. She basically says, "But I couldn't have missed class, or I wouldn't have passed." But she testified him being weird on that night, and that she couldn't have been that night because she would have been in class. So basically,
so she said that he was there being weird, asking about how to come down. And
on a night where
she should have been in class.
And she basically, when she showed that proof, goes like, yeah, and you know what? I wouldn't have missed that class because basically you missed that class once and you fail. Because this high school had there's the magnet program where they did classes in the night, basically like college prep classes. So you might have like one class on Thursday night. It was 3 hours long or whatever. And that was the case for this. So basically when they showed her that fact, she was like, shit, that couldn't have been January 13th then.
Don't they take attendance if you can't miss class? Like, I feel like that's an easy thing for somebody to check up on.
There's a lot of things that people aren't going to check up on, Paul, I promise you.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, we're already going down like the pushing a narrative road. So
yeah,
I feel like
and remember,
that corroborates
everything
the story they want.
Everything we're putting on this list right now is the stuff that like doesn't look good for Adnan. So these are like the things that, even though Greg is correct, it does seem that like a narrative is being pushed. These are like the things that we expect not to look very good for Adnan's story. There is a call on the call log when Adnan says Jay is in possession of his phone to a girl that Jay says he doesn't know. Only Adnan knows her, and her name is Nisha, and the call was 2 minutes and 22 seconds. She testified at trial and said that Adnan used to call her, but she doesn't remember what calls happened on what days. She does say that she never talked to Jay for more than a few seconds, and doesn't have an answering machine. If that's true, then Adnan must have talked to her while he is claiming he didn't have his cell phone. Because she says, I only talked to Jay for a couple seconds. The call is 2.5 minutes long. Maybe that's just her being hyperbolic and not realizing that a 2.5 minute conversation was longer than a few seconds. Maybe that, I think a butt dial comes into...
Also, when you start calling somebody on cell phones, it starts counting the timer like it used to count the timer from the time you hit send.
Still does.
So we
now it
so
counts
we have
from when
something,
it pick up.
Yeah, we have something in here about that too. So
ahead, call me.
8, basically a lot of the calls on the phone record look bad if Jay's story is true, but they got cell phone expert to testify at the trial on the validity of the records. He supports them. What they didn't tell the expert is that there is a disclaimer on all these records, and it says that outgoing calls are only reliable for location status. Any incoming calls will not be considered reliable information for a location. Okay, so he supports the phone records without knowing that only the outgoing calls are reliable for location. Incoming calls will not be considered reliable information for location, and the expert later signed an affidavit years later that if he knew that, it would have affected his testimony. So basically, he had information withheld from him from the prosecution about the phone records, and he was their cell phone record expert.
That's shady. That's
very shady.
That's not how the justice system works.
That's probably the shadiest point we've hit so far, is that they brought in this, technology expert, which, like, this is the person that's coming in, and despite who brought them in, prosecution or defense, their job is to teach the layman how this piece of technology works and to, get that straight. And they withheld information from him. So, quick recap on all of this. Hae goes missing, turns up dead. She has an ex-boyfriend, and cops have a witness that says she saw the ex Adnan with Hae's dead body. They aren't on any cameras, and the best they can do is see what cell towers Adnan's phone pinged off of. So far, people remember things, but only Jay claims that they saw her body. A couple more things that we haven't mentioned yet. There is a new guy that Hae was seeing pretty consistently. Question number 7.
Ugh.
What was the name of this new guy, and where did he work? Don't worry, it's multiple choice. Was his name Don, and he worked at Lynn's Crafters? Was his name Mark, who worked at Sam Goody's? Was his name Tim, who worked at Miller's Outpost? Or was his name Steve, who worked at Domino's Pizza? But it was Don that worked at Lynn's Crafters. No points for anybody, but it was fun to reminisce
tricked
about
us
Sam
earlier. I don't appreciate that.
He's weaving a web of
I
lies.
just said that there's a question that mentioned Sam Goody's later. I didn't say that it was the answer to the question.
Yeah. You lied to me.
Well, I believe that's called a misdirection. And
why is a lie, Jesse?
You're gonna want to get some questions correct here, Paul. I can't see the scoreboard, but I know it's not looking good.
It's not great, Bob.
So Don is oh Lord. Okay. What's that? 2,000 to 500?
Bigfoot just said he's going to stop answering questions, so that helps.
Wait,
it's 1,500 to 500.
Oh, you didn't?
Did I say that?
Yeah.
He's on a vow of silence right now.
Yep.
He's focused.
Hae is dating what they call a much older guy named Don who worked at LensCrafters. I think Don was like 24 or 25. Hae's like 17.
Oof.
That's illegal.
Classic.
That's a bullet to the head, if you ask me.
Yeah, in 1999, oddly acceptable. Okay, so Don works at LensCrafters. There's a note found in Hae's car that is to Don. It says something like, "Sorry, I couldn't stay. I have to go to Randallstown." She never gave it to him because obviously it's in her car. He's supposed to be at work at LensCrafters in Hunt Valley. And what does she mean in the note by not being able to stay, going to Randallstown? It's kind of unclear exactly what the note means. But one thing we know for sure is that Don immediately figured out what he was doing that day when they came to him 6 weeks later. And he had what is known as a rock-solid alibi, and he knew that he was going to be a suspect. So
yeah, because he's a fucking adult.
He's an adult who is dating a child, but that's not the crime here.
And he worked at LensCrafters. That's just creepy.
So he could see what he was doing.
That's creepy.
So Don also did not try to call or page Hae one time after she went missing, which is far more suspicious to me than Adnan not calling her as her ex and Don being her current. So basically she goes missing. Don never reaches out to her again. And the manager at the Hunt Valley LensCrafters that vouched for him and made his alibi solid, his mom.
Ooh,
that's suspicious.
There was another guy who worked in the area at a different LensCrafters for 32 years, and he said that it basically made no sense that two people would be working at the Hunt Valley store like that on any given night. Like, it's just not a store you have more than one person working. It's LensCrafters. It's not. Like, there's not a revolving door of people coming in.
LensCrafters in 99,
right?
Though. Like, you imagine all those people lined up. He's just running down the row. Number 1 or number 2? Hold that answer. I'll be right back. Number 1 or number 2? I'll be right back.
Hey, they're called LensCrafters, not lens testers, bro. Get real. Anyway, Don testified at Adnan's trial, and he said, and Don actually comes out and goes, "Yo, they wanted me to make Adnan sound like as creepy as I could." That's basically how the prosecution coached him. It was like, you need to make him sound fucking creepy. And this is one thing to Don's defense. The funny thing that you can give Don defense for is that, like, he was like, "I ain't doing that. Like, I'll say what I know about him, but I'm not going to try to make him sound creepy." So Don just answered their questions without making Adnan look any type of way other than what Don perceived him as. Don said afterwards that they yelled at him for not making Adnan sound bad enough.
Yeah, imagine you're a prosecutor and you're sitting there, your whole career is hinged on this case, and you're fucking telling some guy, you're like, "Listen, somebody's going to prison. Either you make him sound like an asshole and he's going to prison, or you sound like the asshole and you're going to prison."
Right, no, and that's where I kind of give Don a little bit of
gotta give him credit, because you gotta a lesser person would have cracked under that.
Right, yeah. And a person who knows that their alibi was their mommy also might be like, "Yeah, I'm kind of shaky at best. I better just go ahead and make him sound like a creep."
That shows a little bit of faith in the system that he's not going to get railroaded for being wrong, because he was convinced that he would, like, he's like, I don't have to throw this guy under the bus because I'm innocent.
Right.
Which is what it tells me, but fuck do I know? I'm just some guy on the internet.
I just think it's weird for the prosecution to call a pedophile to the stand. That's
right.
Same. Don said they yelled at him for not making Adnan sound bad enough, and another major thing that came out of the show Serial was the whole Asia McClain thing. In 1999, Asia wrote Adnan 2 letters and sent them to him in jail. She says that she remembers January 13th and that she talked to him for about 20 minutes in the library after school had let out. Basically the time where he should have been murdering Hae. Asia McClain is like, "I very clearly remember January 13th. and you couldn't have because you and I were talking for over 20 minutes. She remembers a lot of other details about that day, too, that include Adnan. She even went as far as to go to Adnan's house and tell his family what she remembered. So she was like, I'm not even going to rely on the letter I just sent to him. I'm going to go tell them. Like, we need to get my story out there. I remember January 13th. I remember him not being able to do this because he was talking to me for a part of this day. So
that's also suspicious if you ask me.
Well,
somebody just willing to jump to somebody else's defense like that, like, stay out of it.
Well, if it's someone being wrongly convicted for murder, maybe don't stay out of it.
I don't know if nobody asks me. I keep
don't
to
ask,
myself.
don't tell.
Yeah.
Here was the thing, though, is she didn't tell because she wasn't even called as a witness at his first trial. So it just goes back to shitty police work, really, is what we're getting at. But Rabia, if we remember her, the family friend and attorney, did have her sign her story in an affidavit, and in his second trial, she would get to come in and testify. Then she never heard from anyone. Basically, she tells the police and his family, I know a lot about January 13th. I have some details and possibly some proof. Call me up. I'll give it all to you. Didn't hear from anybody. Never called to... Obviously, the prosecution was going to call her in, but the defense didn't either. So there's a...
Which seems like a... missed opportunity on their part.
Well, we're going to see, too, that his defense attorney maybe wasn't the best around. Someone was going to probably...
Here's my plan. I'm not a great attorney, so we're going to go through all this, and then after you're convicted, we'll appeal on the grounds of a mistrial.
Just the Lionel Hutz method.
I think you'll be surprised to learn that I'm not actually wearing a tie at all.
So she ended up getting in touch with the prosecutor, who did not explain the situation to her correctly, and told her she never heard from anyone after Adnan was convicted. When they tried to contact her for his post-conviction relief trial around 2010, she got freaked out, thinking that a murderer had tracked her down all these years later. Basically, they called her with... They didn't explain to her at all what was going on. They just freaked her out about a murder trial. And I think she was a little high-strung. I think it will be the word I'll use. And got the call and basically was confused, and it fucking freaked her out.
Hey, I heard you got some information.
Yeah,
you want to share it?
Yes. And it freaked her out. So she ended up getting in touch with the prosecutor, who did not explain the situation to her correctly and told her the case against Adnan was airtight and they wouldn't need her. After Serial, she made a new affidavit and testified in his 2016 trial. The craziest thing about Asia McClain is that Adnan's lawyer never even called her in 1999.
That's, again...
What kind of fucking defense attorney?
Huge missed opportunity. This person right here can clear our whole... can provide us a rock-solid alibi. Do you want to call him?
Yeah, but then I'd have to call her.
But see, what that does, though, is if her story isn't rock solid, if he calls her to the stand, it gives the prosecution a chance to poke holes in it. So if her story is like...
Yeah, but you don't have to call her to the stand before you just fucking call her and get some information on it. You don't have to call everybody to the stand that you talk to.
Listen, I've been watching a bunch of Suits lately.
Great show.
I fucking hate it, dude. I hate it
so
so
I
much.
expect somebody to walk in and say something like, wait, Harvey, what about this? Right here at the end. And then he'll like look at it and go, holy shit, how did you get this? And they'll go like, don't even ask.
That was my plan all along.
The case will be solved. That's how it would work if this were a Suits episode.
Well, but I mean, like, if you enter something into evidence, both sides get it, obviously, because of disclosure.
Right, but I don't think that a single phone call from a defense attorney to a possible witness falls into evidence for the prosecution.
Her name would be in there.
Her name would be in there. And
like
then,
the prosecution. Okay. It all comes to discovery.
She's already talked to the prosecution. She has talked to them. They called her and we're just like, hey, the story's airtight. We don't fucking need you for anything. When realistically...
the defense would have...
Yeah, I don't know.
The defense would be like,
not an attorney,
you have information that goes against the prosecution.
You guys seen Meghan Markle? Right?
Yeah, if you're using this show for research, don't.
Or do, whatever.
Follow your heart.
Follow your nose.
Gonna do it like that, all cartoony?
Yeah. His defense attorney was named Cristina Gutierrez, and she would eventually get disbarred. She did some things that... she did some things well. She found out that the prosecutor in the case got Jay, his lawyer, So basically,
She listened to Harvey.
yeah, the the prosecution was like, oh, Jay wasn't. Remember, Jay's not like on defense. He doesn't need a public defender or anything. But the prosecution paid for Jay's attorney as a witness because he needed to have someone representing him. So the prosecution covered that, and
That's
that was
suspicious.
kind of a yes, it was. So Christina Gutierrez did figure that out and bring it to light. She freaked out about it, but it wasn't enough for his testimony to be thrown out, which would have been huge if it could have been. She would actually die in 2004, so no one could ask her any of her motivations or strategies prior to her death. Question number 8. Christina Gutierrez had several claims against her for misappropriated funds in her career. How many different claims of fund misappropriation were brought against her? I will say, too, that this did end up in a monetary judgment. Paul, this is one you're really going to want to fucking nail.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
So there are a certain amount of claims that would pay out into a good chunk of payouts.
Are we? Am I answering how many claims or how much money?
How many claims were brought against her?
If this cost me the game, it cost me the game, but I can't change my answer.
All right. Bigfoot says, is that 3?
That is 3. Paul
All
says
right,
7.
Better than we thought. Oh, he went for 7, did he?
He did.
Well, we're going to give Paul 250 points because he is closer.
Still in it. Probably. I don't know.
So Christina Gutierrez would, during a trial, pay out $282,328 to 28 different claims that she misappropriated her clients' funds.
You were only 25% of the way there.
Hey, but 7 is never wrong usually.
He's wearing a number 7 jersey, so...
Hey! Happy coincidence, guys. I didn't realize that.
So what else is interesting here is that Hae was found in a Leakin Park by a maintenance man who was on his lunch break. This is also another one of those take a small L to get a big W because he was chugging beers, driving through Leakin Park, and was pulled over so that he could take a walk to the woods to take a piss. The beers were just going straight through me on my lunch break.
You know, they say you don't buy beer, you just rent it.
I can just see him in a coverall right now.
Just don't quite cover all.
Oh. So yeah, he's drinking beer, driving through Leakin Park, pulled over so he could take a piss. People kind of made it a point to ask how random or likely it was that he found her, walking out into the woods and stumbling across Hae Min Lee, but who had supposedly also been buried. When they sent an investigator out there, they knew exactly where to look, and it took them a really long time to find her. So she was put away pretty well. Paul, yes.
Didn't Jay help dude bury the body allegedly? Wouldn't he have just been
he couldn't remember
there?
Yeah.
It had been 6 weeks.
Right? Yeah. No, I would never
also,
remember where I buried the body.
Jay's story didn't come out until after her body had been discovered. There was not really an investigation of her murder until they found her body.
Wow.
So Jay was given 27 days to kind of concoct his story if he knew anything.
And he still had to change it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
that's if he knew anything about the murder. That's what I'm saying. If he didn't, then he would have found out. I mean, he would have known she was missing, but he would have found out about it on this day. Why involve yourself if you weren't involved with it? I don't know.
So they needed a scapegoat to go trip over the body before they could be like, oh, we know right where she is.
So they let this guy off on a petty charge to testify that he found her because he had been out drinking and driving on the clock or whatever.
This prosecutor's just cutting deals to
we're gonna let you off because you found the body for us, big guy.
But hey, pissing in the woods.
Doesn't anyone else remember anything else from that afternoon? For sure. Here's a couple more accounts from that afternoon. Doesn't anyone else remember anything from that afternoon? For sure. Here's a couple more accounts from that afternoon. Aisha, who is Hae's best friend, saw Hae talking to Adnan after her class of psychology. Debbie, another of Hae's friends, said she saw Hae. Hae told her she was going to pick up her little cousin and then going to see Dawn. The lady who ran the concession stand outside of the gym saw Hae. Hae got her usual hot fries and apple juice, and Hae told her not to let the wrestling team leave without her because Hae was the manager of the boys' wrestling team and was supposed to do her duties that night at a match in Randallstown. Remember that from the note with Dawn.
Yeah.
That she couldn't stay because she had to go to Randallstown.
There's a lot of weird things said right there. A whole lot of weird things said.
When you said hot fries, do you mean like Tom's hot fries, or do you mean just French fries that are hot?
a bag of Tom's. Think about like going to the the student store after. Yeah. She got
hot
a
fries,
cold
and
apple juice,
apple
and some
juice?
hot
Yeah.
fries. Hot fries, wrestling team, magnet program, Randallstown.
Bizarre.
A girl named Summer saw Hae, and they talked for about 10 minutes. Hae told Summer that she would get to Randallstown on her own, not on the bus. She said that she had talked to Hae after school had let out, and after the buses had cleared, and after the last bell. Summer says that around 2:30 to 2:45, that there's no possible way that the 2:36 call is the one where Hae is dead, because she was basically hanging out with Hae at that time. The 2:36 call isn't important because if Jay's story is true, the only call on the log that matches the location for Best Buy has to be the incoming call at 2:36, which, if we remember, can't even be properly used for
location services. Yeah.
Right. The prosecution's case relies on the fact that this is a call where Adnan calls Jay and says, "The bitch is dead, come get me." But we have other witnesses saying that Hae was with them at or around that time. The prosecution's case relies on the fact that this is where the call. Yep. No other calls are incoming, and on that cell tower, and it would make sense with this story. So basically, the cell tower is barren, but this one call at 2:36.
That's suspicious too. Even before cell phone technology was as prevalent as it is, you would expect there to be a goodly amount of cell phone technology or cell phone
I'm not sure what
traces.
the percentage of people in the Baltimore suburbs with cell phones in 1999 was.
Can you look
Seems
that up?
Seems a little early.
Question number 11.
Right? I feel like the boom was closer to like 2002, 2003 when like they were getting in everyone. Not that people didn't have them, but I just feel like but I don't know. I don't know enough. So when Summer says she was literally talking to Hae at 2:36, that's pretty significant. Another thing here is that school ends at 2:15 when all of the kids walk out of the school at the same time, and some of them get on buses. Once the buses are full, they leave, and then and only then the people with cars are allowed to leave the parking lot. So it's basically like school lets out, the high schoolers all kind of mill around, the buses have to load up and leave. And then if you have a car, you're able to take off. They want to get the buses out safely, right? So that is putting a hole in the whole story that Adnan would get out, get in a car, go murder her. School's out at 2:15, and 21 minutes later is like, "Yo, come get me. This bitch is dead." Because that's what we're talking about. Is school's out at 2:15, and at 2:36 he's making a call saying she's dead. Come get me.
Okay, so I did a little Googling. In 1998, roughly 300 million people had cell phones around the world. In 2000, 28.3% of respondents reported that they owned a cell phone. So 28.3% of people in the U.S. had a cell phone in 2000.
I mean, that would have been a lot of fucking people in the Baltimore area, I'm guessing. I don't know. It's a weird thing for sure that I don't really understand, but that's what basically the prosecution is saying. It's the only call that comes in on this tower. So if it's suspicious for some reason, it might just be that, again, the prosecution is withholding other information, like other calls that are hitting a cell tower. Being like, well, this is the only one, so...
Objection, relevance.
Yeah. So let's see. Once the bus, Adnan is adamant that he couldn't even have gotten out of the parking lot to get to Best Buy and kill her in that amount of time. Sarah and one of her producers attempt to recreate this, and they are actually able to complete it. Basically, they went to the high school, again, 15 years later, so who knows what changed, but they waited for the bus to leave, and then they left as if they were a student, and were able to drive to Best Buy, give it, whatever X amount of time in which someone may have been strangled, and it physically was possible. So I think Sarah went to do it to basically disprove it, and accidentally proved that in that time it might have actually been possible. So
that's good journalism.
It out.
Asking the questions, not knowing where it's gonna go.
Right, and basically, and doing that, understanding that it goes against kind of what you're putting out there, and still putting it out there. That's why, I think Sarah Koenig was given so much respect. So they couldn't rule it out, but it would certainly be difficult. Anyway, if the cell phone record version of the case hinges on the 2:36 call being the bitch is dead call, then that seems pretty unlikely. What does that say about the rest of Jay's story? In general, people don't really have nice things to say about Jay, and he usually refuses to do interviews. People refer to him as odd and shady in the documentary. Someone is explaining Jay's tendency to lie, and he says, which is why people don't talk to Jay anymore. We all had that, person in high school, whether it was a guy or a girl. It's usually a guy in my experience, who just couldn't help but fucking lie. Like, there's just no point. Like, the lies had no it was like, why? We all had that person. We all know that person. Jay seems to be, to a lot of people, that person. So, question number 9. Jay has maintained a rap sheet since Hae was murdered, racking up some arrests since 1999. How many recorded arrests does Jay have since January 26th, 1999? This one was originally going to be multiple choice to give Paul a fighting chance. I'm guessing you wrote 7. So we'll let Bigfoot get an answer on here. Jay maintained a rap sheet since
he changed
it.
He changed it.
He fucking prices righted him.
You motherfucker. You changed it.
You got prices righted right now? Okay,
no,
Bigfoot
he changed
says
it.
8.
He cheated. Bullshit.
Paul, you can change it all the way up until you hold it up as your answer, baby. So,
you said it before. You know, it's conspiracy. See a lot of things
yeah, that's
leaning
usually
my
Greg's
way.
episodes, but here we are. Give Bigfoot 250 points because Jay's rap sheet boasts just over 20 arrests since January 26th.
God damn, dude.
I believe it was 22 in total.
He wrote 6.
I didn't write
Well,
6.
he held up 8. People think he was in trouble for weed and told Adnan's story to get out of it. Basically, he got in trouble for some pot and was like, yeah, well, that guy killed someone. And, you know, what better way to get out of the trouble for weed than bringing a murder charge down?
I always said that.
One of the reasons Jay sounded good during his testimony is that a lot of what he said was backed up by his friend Jen Pusateri. Jen remembers a lot of the details and happenings on a certain day. She testifies to it, in fact. Years later, she admits that the only reason she remembers those events that happened on January 13th is because cops told her that what she remembered was that day.
So she gave her recollection of events, and they were like, "Oh, that's the day in question." Or did she?
Yeah. Basically, she said, "Well, I remember like this happened and this happened." They were like, "Yep, that was January 13th," and she was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, it must have been January 13th then."
That's suspicious.
Yeah.
That's
Right back at you, Paul.
Yeah.
I flinched a little bit. Fucking collateral damage over here.
So this is years later during the trial. These are all basically what amounts to children, right? These are all high school aged kids who are pouring
idiots.
Yeah, I mean, they are idiots. We all were. Like, even the smart people we know in life, you weren't there yet. We gain a lot of experience through our 20s and 30s, some of us. And, you know, we just know how life works a little more. And at this time, if a cop told me, yeah, that's the day, I'd probably be like, oh yeah, you're probably right, dude. And it would have felt like the right thing to have understood. So, basically, she says that any of what she remembers could have happened on any day around there, and she basically just allowed the cops to tell her that it was January 13th. So her story goes like this: Jay came over after she got off work, and they smoked and played video games. Jay got a phone call and left around 3:40 to 3:45. He called the number back. She called the number back, which was Adnan's phone, and someone, she thinks Adnan, said that Jay is busy and he'll call you later. Then she got a call that was ready to be picked up, that he was ready to be picked up. So Jay is calling Jen saying, come get me much later. She then went to the Westview Mall, saw Adnan and Jay in Adnan's car, and then Jay got into her car. Jay told her that Adnan strangled Hae and showed him the body. He tells Jen that Adnan used shovels to bury her, and later they went back to the mall so that Jay could, quote, wipe his fingerprints off of the shovels that they hid behind some dumpsters. Later, he was hidden from view, and she did not see any shovels. When Jen was found on Adnan's cell records, the cops questioned her, and she lied to them for the first night and went and got a lawyer and then went back and told this version of the story that we just went over. Her story only really changes once, and Jay changes a bunch and seems to be like pretty consistently changing. There's a shit ton of inconsistencies in Jay's story. Here's a couple of them. 1, he testifies Adnan showed him Hae's body in the trunk of her car at Best Buy in the parking lot. They interviewed another of Jay's friends, and Jay told this guy that Adnan showed him Hae's body at a pool hall. He tells different stories to different people, which, in my opinion, is exactly how compulsive liars do it, because they know what's going to be more believable to their audience.
Well, yeah, I was going to say they tailor it to the person who's listening
and
rather than what actually happened.
And generally, it doesn't change enough to where if someone were to share it with someone else, the details aren't so detailed such that they would be like, hey, that's not the story he told me. It's close enough. You know, it's not the big part of the story. So what do you mean? There's a talking snail? No, you're focusing on the wrong part of the story. So, Hae's lividity suggests she was lying face down for several hours after her death. Jay suggests she was in the trunk of the car curled up for a significant amount of the time. If this was the case, the lividity would not work. Her lividity also suggests that she was in the same position for 8 to 10 hours, and Jay's claim that they buried her at 7:30 could not be true.
For those of you that don't know, lividity is when you die, the blood settles at the lowest point in your body. So if you're laying face down, it's all going to pool on the front side of your body, so your whole front side will look bruised.
Thank you. I was going to explain it, and you explained it wonderfully.
Thank you.
Basically, what this says is that for 8 to 10 hours, Hae was dead and face down, according to lividity, which is a pretty good
numbers don't lie.
Way. Right. Like, there's a lot of kind of what's the word I'm looking for? You know, like blood splatter evidence is
interpretable.
It's basically it's basically not used in court.
Well, a lot of it's roundabout science. Like when they check your body temperature, it lowers by 15 degrees every hour that you've been dead or whatever. But environmental factors will affect that, so it's not an exact science, but it'll get you close.
But lividity is a pretty tested and true method.
Well, yeah, gravity never changes.
Find a way that somebody was laying after death. Adnan's phone call made to Jen at 3:21 p.m. Both Jen and Jay say that they didn't leave her house to get Adnan until 3:45. Why would Jay call the house that he is at? Hey, can you bring me a soda, babe? Jen said
I've done that.
Jay. Yeah,
I'm out of toilet paper.
That one makes more sense.
I send a little gif of Beavis and Butthead. I need TP for my bunghole. I send that.
TP for my bunghole. I'm getting my cappuccino. Number 4, Jen says that she picked Jay up from Adnan's car at the Westview Mall. Jay says she picked him up at home, literally on the stand. They tell different stories. In Jay's story to police, he was at Christie's when Adnan called. When Adnan called Jay to get him from track practice, because the phone pinged near Christie's, and Christie is adamant that Jay and Adnan came in together. Jay didn't go get him later. Christie's the one who was saying Adnan was acting fucking weird and asking how to get rid of a high. But Jay's story says that he was there, went and got Adnan and brought him back, and Christie's like, no, you guys got here together.
But he was asking about how to get rid of a high after track practice?
Number 5, in Jay's story to the police, Number 6, Jay tells the story where he finds Hae's car. They find it in a lot near some housing, and Jay said it had been there since the day she went missing. 46 days when he tells them. Years later, they go to ask somebody, some people in the housing, and they talk to a woman who's lived there for over 4 decades. She said that if a car sits longer for just more than a few days, they call it into the city, and she believes there's no way that Hae's car would have sat in their neighborhood for 46 days without someone doing something about it. So basically what that says is that, because Jay basically later goes, oh yeah, I think I remember where her car is too. Because they would have had to ditch Hae's car at the same time that they buried her. But what this seems like more is that Hae's car was in a place,
and then he
moved and then said, oh yeah, I remember where this car is.
That's suspicious.
Yeah, it is a little bit. One of the reasons they say they believe the car was also not there 46 days is that the grass below it was like flourishing and green, and they believe that that time of year that the grass below it would have at least yellowed a little from not getting.
Well, I was going to say roll it 4 feet forward and see if there's yellow dead spots under the tire tracks, like under where the tires were sitting.
So
if it's been there for more than 2 days, it'll be dead.
Yeah.
We're kind of wrapping up here. Unfortunately, there's not a really solid, tight ending to this quite yet.
That's all right. I'll tie a bow on this because I got a theory.
Okay, I'm happy to hear your guys' theories. I feel like we've covered a lot of information. Kelly G was gracious enough to give us kind of all of the great details and cut out a lot of the bullshit. In 2019, Jay actually answered some questions from the media, and he said that Adnan showed up to Jay's house and showed him the body. So it's another story in 2019 that he tells. Oh, he came to my house and showed me. He said the idea of Best Buy. He said that the idea of Best Buy actually came from the cops because it matched better with the cell phone records and where the phone pinged. He said that Adnan asked for 10 pounds of weed, and after Jay got it for him, Adnan said that he called the cops if Jay didn't help him bury Hae.
Did you say 10 pounds of weed?
Jesus, 10 pounds. That's what I'm saying, dude.
You telling me a high schooler back then was like,
he did say he was super high.
Super high, motherfucker. At my peak, I would buy like an ounce every 5 weeks. An ounce. So
how many
was
pounds
kind
are
of
in an
Jay's.
ounce?
116.
Yeah, so
16 ounces in a pound.
Oh, I had it backwards then.
Whoa.
How much did you think Jesse was buying?
So again, Jay's story is that he got Adnan 10 pounds of weed, and Adnan said, "Now that you've done that, if you don't help me bury this body, I'm telling the police you got me this weed."
Classic entrapment, extortion, blackmail, all of it.
Suspicious.
So after all this,
suspicious.
we still do not know what happened to Hae. We know that there was a lot of court turmoil over the years, but some good news came later, and there was a new law that states if you've spent more than 20 years in jail for a crime that you committed when you were underage, you could ask the court to reduce your sentence. They asked for Adnan's sentence to be reduced and that they assign it to someone. That person looks over it and goes basically like, what the fuck? They ordered DNA, noticed some handwritten notes from the prosecutor and other suspects no one ever told Adnan's lawyer about, and generally concluded that there was an overwhelming cause for concern. Sarah Koenig made a follow-up episode for Serial, and she sums it up perfectly, saying, city prosecutors filed a motion saying that they could no longer stand behind the murder case that they had built against Adnan, asking a judge to vacate the conviction. Their motion was granted. They did not exonerate him, but they are saying that it wasn't investigated well enough, and it wasn't an honest conviction. Question number 10. Adnan was released from prison after how many years? I think that Paul can't catch up. He needs even if he nails it right
7 years. It's fucking 7 years.
7 years. So Bigfoot says 8, and
Bigfoot says 19.
Bigfoot says 19. Adnan Syed was released from prison for the fact that they had a case that wasn't investigated well enough and was not an honest conviction. On September 19th, 2022, he had been released from prison after 23 years.
I was right.
Yep.
I don't know if you could hear me whispering.
After 23. I told you the year and you did the math.
I was saying 23. Quietly.
So,
that was just 2022?
When
I think about hearing the news that he got released, I feel like that was like in 2020 or, you know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah.
That's
September 19th. It's what's today? It's September 9th.
That's crazy.
So it hasn't even been a year that he's been out of prison. So basically, again, they didn't vacate this, but they are, quote unquote, still investigating. The investigation is ongoing. So it'd be nice if we got some like real answers, and Hae's family would probably like some closure on who maybe actually killed their daughter. I know there's some theories floating around the room right now. Greg, what say you?
Jay did it.
There's a lot of Jay did it out there. A lot of Jay did it out there. Anything you'd like to add to that, or just like the suspicious nature?
Jay's a compulsive liar, so Jay did it, and then tried to like pass the buck, like he did the old why'd you do that with me? Like trying to gaslight Adnan into thinking he had anything to do with it, and then like lying to other people so that it really sets in the gaslight. Like if you're trying to, like when I gaslight my wife, I get other people involved too, so she really buys it. And I feel like that's what he's doing, is just getting other people involved so that Adnan's like, maybe I did, like creating reasonable doubt.
I think that you're 100% right, other than that Jay did it. I think that someone unrelated to this story did it.
Do you think the woods pisser did it?
It got brought to the high schoolers, like, where the fuck is she? Jay thought, ooh, I'm a little too close to this. And then did exactly what you said.
Was it the
It
guy
was like,
who the guy who got Jay the weed, and then he changed his mind. And he's like, "You better say somebody else did this."
I don't know. Paul, Bigfoot, you guys have any?
It's definitely the pedophile.
You think it's Don?
It's always the pedophile.
Ooh.
They're always
Don,
guilty.
the lens crafters pedophile.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, when I do think of pedophiles, they are always wearing a nice thick set of glasses. Paul, any?
Yeah,
any
someone did
theories?
it. Definitely someone.
He says Jay did it. He's with me.
Yeah, probably. It was either Jay or Don or somebody unrelated, probably.
How many times? 7.
Real concrete details you're putting together there, Paul.
I mean, honestly, it's not that much. He's about on par with the prosecution.
Yeah, I know. That's
Pay
why I was
me.
trying to help him out. So, again, the investigation is ongoing. We don't know who killed Hae Min Lee to this day, but the state of Baltimore, or the city of Baltimore, no longer believes that it was Adnan Syed at this point. He's still obviously a person of interest, and he's still someone who may come into. They may even try him again. We don't know. But at least
what about double jeopardy?
Well, that's not exactly how this works, I guess. I don't know, because remember, it wasn't vacated. So I don't know. I don't know exactly.
I'm not a scientist. Don't look at me.
Or a lawyer. If you're using the show for research, don't.
There's a law student somewhere who just went, "Oh shit," and scribbled out a bunch of stuff.
He's not
So, congratulations, Bigfoot, for coming in, winning this long season premiere.
Yeah, absolutely crushed it. 2,000.
Not a shocker. It's pretty.
I've been going downhill since I stopped drinking on the show.
Oh no.
No.
2,000 on
Suck
only
it.
10 questions. On only 10 questions, too.
Well,
That's
2 of them
pretty
he
solid,
cheated.
man.
2 of them should have been mine. Okay, the 8
And
was
then you
bullshit.
still would have lost.
That's
You
fine. It
still would've
wouldn't
lost.
have been crushed, It would have been better. The last one was
Fair.
mine. Threw 7 out there out of hate. No, it wasn't 7. Dude had to be in there for 20 years before the conviction can be
Threw
overturned.
7 in there out of hate.
Couldn't be
Yeah,
7.
but you
This
could've
idiot chose
called-
19. You just said it had to be 20. How does he win? I'm leaving. Storm out.
Don't ask me back.
Thank you, dudes, for being here. We'll get you scheduled for your next episode before you walk out the door.
I'm already out the door. It's bullshit.
He's just really tall, so he can reach the microphone.
Yeah, I
on
took
the
it
way
with
out.
me. It's wireless.
Congratulations, Bigfoot. Anything you want to share on your victory lap here, buddy?
Nah, man, just catch me at BIWGFOOT Designs on Instagram.
Yeah.
He do be designing. You'll see him out there slinging that hammer, making them rings.
Whoa.
Oh, I thought. Slinging it.
Whoa.
What
Which
website is it
hammer
where
did you
slinging
think?
where you're slinging?
Dong. I went with
He's
dong.
he's part of Lonely Fans with 2Z's.com now
Yeah,
too.
he slings the hammer on Instagram,
He-
making
he
rings. He
slings
slings the
the
wrench
hammer.
on LonelyFans.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, check out Bigfoot, you guys. Paul's out
He
there
made my
too.
ring.
Yeah, there you go. You know what? Mine too.
Hey,
I
thanks
still
for the
got the
support, boys.
caveman
Oh,
ring.
Look at this.
I
Yeah.
gotta get Greg's ring size.
Yeah.
Mine's better.
10.5.
But thank you guys for coming out, man. Thank you guys for kicking off a new season for us.
You're welcome.
Things are going to be a little different moving forward, but it's still the start of a new season because there'll still be seasons. There just won't be season breaks. So thank you guys for being here for that. Obviously, thank you, Greg, for getting all the technical aspects put together on that side. Really appreciate you, man. Keeping the office running, bringing the guests in. Greg's doing a lot over there on the West Coast.
It's more than I've ever been used to.
I'm just a screen on the wall that the fellas can see.
You're not on the wall.
I'm just a screen that's leaning that the fellas can see.
I told him I put it on the fucking wall.
Oh, yeah, no. Bro, you're so high up there?
Anyway, check us out on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, the Threadless store. You can donate to the show. If you don't want to do it through Patreon monthly, you can just give us a one-time payment. But remember, on Patreon, $10,000 a month, we'll take you to Disneyland. Even if I'm on the East Coast, we'll make it happen.
That's Disney World.
Yeah, now it's Disney World. That's even better, bros. We'll get Greg out to the East Coast. See, you're the one that changed it, you fucker. You could mail us anything you want. P.O. Box 1229, Clovis, California, 93613. All of that information, again, available on serialchillerspod.com. I don't know, man. I can't think of anything else. Greg, lonelyfans@2z's.com, huh?
Yeah, I
What
mean,
about
if you're going to do it, I won't. Yeah, lonelyfans@2z's.com.
All right, so there's that. And check out Bigfoot doing some designs. Paul's around. He's floating around. You'll find him.
Yeah, my Venmo's White Ogre. Go ahead and just send me money. I got kids to feed.
Join us on the Discord. You can talk to Paul there. You can talk to Bigfoot there. You can talk to Greg there. Most of our like guests that people like really like and are sought after are active in the Discord to some degree. So if you guys want to talk to one of these people, show up, and if they're not there, I'll get them in there. We'll make them show up to talk for a little bit.
Just at me. I'll show up.
But these are some pretty
Gotta
solid
do it 3
dudes,
times.
so.
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you guys for being here, Greg. Thanks for putting everything together. And if there's nothing else to add,
Thanks for hosting.
of course. For Bigfoot, for Paul, and for Hella Greg, I'm Cromulent Jesse. And remember, don't talk to strangers. It's up to you. It's a fire.
I like to think that he's really high up on the wall and he's calling someone. I want to get less high.